Sigeberg. Now we should see a view of an amazing place, the town of Vágur. And this should definitely be on your bucket list to visit if you haven't been there already. It's a population of 1,380 or something like that today. And this story I'm going to tell you is probably a story that could be told about most of many rural areas in Iceland and also around the North Atlantic. We are here in the Faroe Islands, a periphery in Europe, but if you go further on to the Faroe Islands, we are on the southernmost part of Faroe Islands, and we are the only island that doesn't, of the larger islands, that doesn't have a road connection. So we are, you can say, we are periphery in the periphery, and this Vágur is the largest town. It's the second largest municipality, but largest town on the island. But when you set the scenes, it's important to know where we come from, or where we came from. So historically, if you look at Suðuroy, this Suðuroy was the main growth area in the Faroe Islands 100 years ago, the main driver of the Faroese economy, and this is a story that you may also know from Iceland. This idea of a community that has a good place geographically according to fishing grounds, and this connected with skilled entrepreneurs has really kickstarted some things in the 1880s, and from the period from 1880 to 1930 we were a growth area in the Faroes with half of the Faroes fishing fleet here, a really strong land-based fishing industry, dynamic business life, entrepreneurs going new ways and so on. So this was really the exciting place to be in the Faroes, and we also saw that if you look at the growth in population, we had twice the growth rate of the rest of the country. So this was where things were happening 100 years ago. And even though times changed in the 1930s with the crisis in Europe and so on, and also Wall Street cracked, fisheries was still an important part of the local community. And this is a photo of herring in Vágur in 1960s. I just talked to a lady from Siglifjord. I'm sure this was the photo of Siglifjord also in the 1960s.
Excuse me, Dennis. I think we're not seeing your new slides changing.
Okay, that's not so good. See what's happening there.
So we're just seeing the yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Now see a black and white.
Yes, we see the old ships. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm not changing it. Now you're changing to a graph.
Exactly. Now we see a graph.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the graph I talked about. Yeah. Yeah, and this photo from the 1960s, and it could easily be in Siglifjord. And if you go up to the 1970s, this is also a story, from Iceland, that we brought in more modern technology with filleting plants, modern trawlers, and so on, that replaced the old ships and the ways of productions that we had earlier. And community life was still very much about fish, about fisheries and fish processing, but more and more jobs were also created in the public sector, within the tertiary sector, mainly within the public services. And if we fast forward to 2010, fisheries was still an important part of the local community here in Vágur. We had large filleting plant, fish factories, dried and salt fish auction, freezing storage, a typical fisheries town that you also know from Iceland, and with several trawlers and so on. And we had something like 275 jobs within the fisheries and fish jobs on the harbor area. So if you go back to 2010, the main local mindset was very much about fish, thinking about fish. But sometimes it's important to go in a helicopter view and look around what's happening, and this was really needed in 2010, 11, 12 when I joined politics, and was also maybe one of the main reasons that I joined politics, because if you looked at the broader view and went to helicopter, you could see that we actually were in a poor situation with a declining population for decades. Actually, that started already in the 1920s. And if we look at the numbers, we also have had a decline in population for something like 70 years already. And this has, of course, created demographic challenges for the area, for the island, and for our town. Low fertility rate because the youngsters were leaving, fewer children born, and because of unstable fisheries, we had unstable jobs within the unskilled workforce, lower incomes, and so on. And in general, we saw the younger generations moving away and did not have a dream to come back to the island. And we were also hit or struck by this modernization of society, which actually is a positive thing because we are, as you are in Iceland, encouraging our youngsters to get into education, go from primary school to upper secondary school, and to get a higher education. And everybody does that in the Faroes, also in the rural areas. But from when you live in Sura, you have to leave. So most of them leave for Denmark, some to UK and Iceland. Today it's also possible to take several educations in Tórshavn. But from Sura, most of them leave to go abroad. And when you travel abroad to get an education, stuff happens. You fall in love with a new town, a new scientific area, or a new person. And these are really important things to have an effect on your decision when you're finished with your education. So we have had this difficulties in getting people back to Surai. And above all that, we also had fisheries that came into crisis in 2010. So over a period of 3 to 4 years, all our fishing industry went bankrupt, closed down, the boats disappeared, then the trawlers disappeared, and we went from having 275 jobs in 2010 to having something like 10 to 20 jobs in 2016. We still have a Bakkafrost salmon company here. They also were there in 2010, but today we are not a fisheries community anymore, even though the mindset is still thinking fisheries for the larger part of the older people. So we were at a crossroads in 2012, and this also encouraged me to go into politics. We had this declining population, local industry in distress, unemployment, low self-esteem, and a weakening community spirit. And we had youngsters that moved away, and they did not dream about coming back. So we were at this crossroad and needed to do a reality check, and we needed to move, and that was the main task that I started in 1st of January 2013, that we had to move to find a new reality, to start a new way of living in our local community. And we focused on building confidence, creating attractiveness, new jobs, and we focused on moving into a new economic sector, to the experience economy. So we started to go new ways. We started this transition from fish to people. We worked with a lot of different kind of stuff. I'm not going to talk about all of it. One important part of it was working with image and pride. I'm not going to talk much about that. This is the only slide about that. But we focused on telling good stories, going from bad to good stories. We worked with strengthening community spirit and the sense of belonging, which is really, really important. And then we worked with attractiveness, creating an attractive community. And that's what we have done also since within the business life. But when we talk about changing the local economy, this guy is maybe one of the guys that kickstarted it all by chance, I can say. He's a local swim hero. You may have heard of him, Paul Johansson. He was training in this old 25-meter pool in the school, but competing in a 50-meter pool. And you know all about swimming in Iceland, probably the country in the world that has most swimming pools. So it's difficult to go from 25-meter pool to a 50-meter pool. But he was competing, and at the Euro Champs in 2020 in August, he was leading the 1500-meter freestyle race for 1400 meter, and the Eurosport commentator, a famous English swimmer, he cheered him as the winner of the race, even though he got a silver medal. And he said when he knew about the story and training in 25-meter pool, but competing in 50-meter pool, he said, "Build that man a pool and name it after him." And so we did. So we started this crazy project in the week after his championship silver medal, and traveled around the country collecting money for our 50-meter pool. And we got a site from the municipality, and when we had money for the foundation, we started to build, even though we did not have the rest of the money. And people saying they are not so crazy, they're going to build a foundation while not having any money. So when we started the foundation, people also started to give us money and started to help the project. And this project really kickstarted something, because the swimming pool project became the town's project. And at this point, this was a town in the unemployment and decline in businesses. So people really needed something to join into. So local companies, they started to build for a really, really low cost. Local people joined in to help. These are engineers that are doing the plumbing, the heating. They are sailing on board the merchant ship and trawlers. When they were home, they did it for free. People started to help preparing the floor on the swimming pool. The swimming pool was painted 4 times for nothing. People from all over the island joined in and painted and helped cleaning and moving things when we needed that. We also got people from Varberg that were living abroad to help us to fetch things that we bought from Denmark and travel it, bring it back home. The insulation of the building was done for free from during the summer period. And when we got close to the date that it should open, people called in and should we help something, and we also got people that are from Waver that were home on their summer holiday. They joined in to clean the swimming pool. The local pensioners club, they started to do saunas and steam bath. One of those guys is my father. And of course, we had a great party when we opened in October 2015, and we had built the first 50-meter swimming pool in the Faroes, 25% of the normal price. And of course, the first swimmer to swim it was Paul Johansson. But this really opened the mindset of people, what we were starting, this change to the experience economy. And the experience economy is all about people, people traveling to their own personal experience, like this woman here hiking at the mountaintop. But it's also about tourism and adventure in general, about sports tourism, sports schools, health, wellness and training, and so on. So the experience economy is really a broad thing about traveling to your own experiences. And we really started this in 2015, kickstarted by Paul's Hut, the swimming pool. But we have since then built upon this Paul's Hut with new facilities. And this gives us really unlimited opportunities. Why? Because when people travel, we all know that they spend money, and when you spend money, you create jobs in some way. So this is Paul's Hut, a 50-meter swimming pool with a wellness area, a slide, children's area, cafe area, hot spas outside, and so on. Great facilities for our locals, so we can get a good experience there. But they also attract people to come to Waver, tourists and swimmers, and they create new jobs. We had a Gallup poll done last year. 30% of everybody that visited Sura in the summertime, they go to Paul's Hut, and we have a lot of visitors during the summertime. We also have visitors from abroad. These are international swimmers, world-class swimmers that has been here on training ground. We started another crazy project, a new multi-hall, similar to the one that is in Hafnarfjörður. The first indoor facilities for football in the Faroes, with a climbing wall, athletics facilities, and so on. Great facilities for ourselves, our younger generations, so they can have a good time. But we also attract people to come, tourists in the summertime during all year, and training camps for football teams during January, February, and March. And they come on in a period of time when we have a low tourist activity, so they really create activity in the restaurants and in the hotels. Largest climbing wall in the Faroes, the only one of its kind, indoor facilities that are really great. And of course, we have built on that also. So we started this school soccer tournament in 2019, and we have had 30% of the pupils from all over the country come here. And this has really been a great investment, because when they come here, they play football, and they afterwards go to swim in Paul's Hut, and they have a day here with smiles. And when they leave, we have invested in smiles. And this is really important, because when they come back home, they are also discussing this with the parents. And when they are discussing where to go in the summer holiday and traveling in the Faroes, they want to come to Waver. So this has really made a difference in getting people to come to Waver. And when people come here, we create new jobs. We also started this Faroe Islands Handball Cup in 2020. We got 500 players in the age under 10 to under 16. 600 participants last year. This year we have interest from India and Mexico also. And during a 4-day period, the population in Waver is doubled. And of course, this has a huge impact on both the hotels, the restaurants, cafes, and so on. And we also started a sports high school in 2016. It's a folk high school like the one that you have in the Westfjords. And this has just been a crazy success. We started with 15 pupils in 2016. They made a video in December 16. It was seen 125,000 times within the first 4 days. And after that, we just got a run on the school, and it's been full ever since. In the first years, we had room for 30 pupils. Now we have room for 48 pupils. And this has created new jobs. We got in-movers, people with university degrees that moved to Waver. You can see more about the school on hoyes.fo. There's also a video I will share with you in the chat afterwards. But because of the great success, we started to work with new facilities in January 2017. After the first 6 months, planned a dormitory, and we were really lucky that we got a public building company in the Faroes to join in, and they wanted to be part of building it. So we started to build in 2019. That's me with the first starting the building, and then we just went on. And this is 2020, a great building in the town center, a new landmark, local landmark. So now the pupils moved from these red summer houses to the new dormitory in January 2021. And now we have room for 48 pupils instead of just 30. So this has just been a great story. And we have started to focus on a new school building, and this will start this year. We bought an old fish factory and will change it for a new school. So this has really been a really important part of the image of the town. Another thing that we also started in 2014 was a local festival. And again, this was also to focus on that you can come to Varberg and have a good time. Prior to 2010 or 2012, nobody came here to have a good time. They came here because they had to with the children to play football, but they were bored when they were here and they talked negative about being here. So we invested in also creating other stuff. So this festival was started in 2014. We only had something like 50 people the first year. Today we have 400 people coming into a grill party. We have 60 caravan coming in. All the rooms in the hotels and the summer houses are rented out and so on. And this is a festival: music, dancing, eating, having a good time. Age group plus 40. They don't go out that much, but when they go out, they really spend money. So they are really kickstarting the summer holiday for the local hotels and restaurants. So we are focused also in giving advice to local companies, a new tourist center, Business Varberg also, focusing on business development in the town. And of course, when we started, we did not have any tourist facilities, so we had to build that. So we built a new campsite in 2014, and going from no campers at all, we now have something like 1,000 guests a year, and we are expecting more growth. Prior to Corona, the growth was really high. Of course, it was stopped a bit by Corona, but last year was really good. So this is also creating new jobs, because when people are traveling in the Faroes, and these are typical Faroese that are traveling with caravans, they're spending a lot of money. Another thing we did also is that we started a project with summer holidays, cabins. This was a project that we started in the municipality, but we wanted private investors to build it. But it was really difficult to get people to invest in the tourist industry in 2015. They did not believe in it at all. But we got 10 investors, and they bought the summer houses and they rented them out since, and they have made a lot of money on it. And in 2015, it was the first, they were sold for 500,000 Danish kroners. Last year, one was sold. It was sold for 3 times that price after 3 years. So now people really see a potential in investment in tourism. And we also see that new companies are emerging and making new investments, and mainly investments in beds. And we are really needing beds when we are focusing on tourism, because we only had 35 beds in 2013. In 2020, we had 170 beds, and there are more coming also. So this has been a really important part of giving the opportunity and creating the possibility to grow within the tourist sector. And when people come in, people also see the opportunities. So we have had a lot of new companies being established. We have new cafes and restaurants. In 2010, if you were traveling to Sura, you would be lucky to get a hot dog at a tank station. Today, we have 5 or 6 restaurants here in Varberg, both steakhouses, Philippine and Thai restaurants, normal restaurants. You have pizza and fast food also. We have new cafes and so on. So we have changed the way of the local business life. We have companies that are selling trips for people that are coming here, 3-4 companies like that. We have new high-class bed and breakfast with a cafe, several new Airbnbs, summer houses. We also have our new microbrewery, Biskopskelda. I'm part of that, by the way. So we have been able to start new companies within the tourism industry, and now people are employed there full time. We did not have that 10 years ago. And we also focused on a new kind of thinking that every town in rural area tries to attract people on a permanent basis, but it's difficult to attract people on a permanent basis. So we are focusing on maybe we should try to get new residents for a shorter period of time. And this is a project we started together with Arnard called Art Digital Nomads, attracting people to come and make a difference for a short period of time. And we have built on that project. This is an artist that was here in 2018. And started a new project that's called In Residence in the Arctic. It's a program or a digital platform, inresidenceinthearctic.com, where communities in the Arctic and beyond can become members. And via the platform, you can invite people from all over the world to be part of your community. You can invite teachers, engineers, or whatever. And we want people to come into the community and to give something to the community when they are here. And this program started in January. The platform was launched, and it's been a great success. We have 3 hosts and 3 calls, and I think we have something like 20 applications for the first call. So it's been really really a huge positive trip already. One really important focus that we have been working with is the way of thinking, that everybody can make a difference. Of course, some of the projects have been municipal projects, other have been private ones, but there have also been the towns project. And we have focused really on this local ownership of feeling towards the projects. We've been working with these terms of crowdsourcing and crowdfunding to the fullest. Palsut, as you saw, we have been using they can use their force, their free time and labor to be part of the project. But we also have been using people with skills so that they can come in and do an electricity project for Palsut, for example, was done by a local engineer for free and so on. So this crowdsourcing has been used to the fullest locally, and we also started to use this crowdfunding that you know of in Iceland also. And we, with Palsut, we created this local funding scheme with the local savings bank that people could take a loan in the savings banks and donate the money for the swimming pool, and then they got a family card for 4 years. That was a huge success, and we also have created a funding scheme with the local savings bank that the municipal debt is crowdfunded. People have today, if you own money, you are paying a negative rent in the bank. So if you loan your money to the municipality, you get a positive rent, and that's been also a success. So to do it in short, we have on one side, we have worked with rebuilding local confidence, pride, and community spirit. That's been a really important part of it. We have worked on creating an attractive community, an exciting community for ourselves. And if we feel that we look good, we also encourage other people to come. And this has been really a success also, that people see that when a person is feeling good and being positive, and a town is feeling good and being positive, you show people that. And we have also worked with this movement from community based on fisheries economy to a community based on experience economy, tourism, adventure, and sport mainly. And I think we have succeeded in that one. So we have changed the community of being a fisheries thinking community to not being that anymore. And of course, that's difficult when you're working with people in a fisheries community, because many of them are really conservative and talking about when fish comes on the harbor, everything will be great again. But we all know that fish doesn't come back on the harbor. So this has been a journey. It was tough in the beginning, but now it's going really good. And of course, because of this positive development, we are also attracting newcomers, and we are attracting back movers. And I'm not sure that I am the one to tell the story about how it's been going, but it's obvious that people are more prouder and happier. If you meet people from the Faroe Islands in Iceland and you ask them about the town of Vágur today, I'm sure they will say something positive. 10 years ago, they would not tell a positive story. They would probably not know anything about it. But because of the positive things, we are seeing that people are being also more positive all around the Faroe Islands about our town. And this also has an influence on companies that are making investments. And we have this Bakkafrost Salmon company making a huge investment here that will start this year, the largest investment that's been made in the municipality ever. So that's also important. One thing that I should mention is that of course I stopped as mayor at the end of 2020. That wasn't really planned, but that's politics. So one thing that we should learn, if we should learn anything from the story of Vágur, is that we should hire people earlier than we did. We hired people to work with the development in 2020, and looked in the back mirror, we should have done that maybe in 2018, 2017. But now we have some really good skilled persons in that work with development, and that's been really important for this last year, because we have a new mindset in the politics. So if we look at the population in the Faroe Islands, we have great growth in the population for the last 9 years, some 12% around that. The island of Sure hasn't had any growth at all, almost. The 1% we have had in growth was during the last year. But in Vágur, we have had something like 6.7% growth. So that it looks exciting. I think the future looks really, really bright for our town. Thank you. That was what I was having on my mind.